Hello friends. Judging by your kind feedback, you did actually like it when I take the events from your letters and unpack them in a bit more detail. Today we are going to look at two subscriber stories at once, both from men who run straight into this fashionable little topic people now call open relationships. In both cases, everything began with beautiful speeches about freedom and being modern, and ended, well, exactly the way it was always going to end. After the stories, I will separately explain why these arrangements are almost always complete nonsense and what is really hiding behind these new relationship philosophies. So, story number one. Hello, I decided to write to the channel. People here often share stories about boundaries and awareness and all that, so I figure I will be understood here. We understand everybody, brother. My story is not exactly unique, but maybe it will be useful to someone, especially younger guys, because if back then I had started convincing myself that I needed to be more modern, more flexible, and stop thinking in stereotypes, I might have ended up in a swamp I would later have had to crawl out of through the courts. Basically, as they say, I jumped off the train in time, and that train was headed straight into a wall. How poetic. Well done, right? Anyway, when it all started, I was 25. I was an ordinary guy. No rich parents, no apartment handed to me, no car as a gift, but I had my hands in the right place and I was not afraid of work. I worked hard, rented a decent two-bedroom apartment, drove a used Mazda that I serviced myself. I am not afraid to work with my hands. I know how. I was raised with the idea that if a man has already started living with a woman, then marriage should be on the table. This is not a game. It is a move toward a family. There is nothing to wait around for, responsibility and all that. We understand. So I did not treat relationships like some soap opera. For me, it was serious. We had met 3 years before this story happened. She was 20, I was 22. It all started the way it usually does: dates, movies, cafes, walks. And then, by the old bakery factory tradition, she started staying over more often, and eventually she pretty much moved in. After not too long, both our families knew, and so did our friends. Then the questions started flying in batches. When are you two finally going to do something? When is the wedding? When are the kids? Everything became very concrete. How are we going to live? What about the wedding and all that? We did not even own a place yet, and people were already asking what kind of kitchen we would install, that kind of thing. We were planning to officially get married in the summer without all the expensive theatrics. I had already picked out rings, I had even partially paid for the venue. Parents on both sides knew, everything was normal, everything was agreed. From the outside, it looked perfectly smooth. At that time, she was in her final year at university, her diploma was right around the corner. Sometimes she worked part time, sometimes she just stayed at my place and did her own things. The main load was on me. I paid the rent, trips, household expenses, filled the fridge, and so on. And I have to say, it did not bother me at all. There was money and it was fine. I was even managing to save a little. After all, if we were moving toward a family, if that was what we both wanted and both of us were contributing, then that was how it should be. If I'm contributing today, then tomorrow she will contribute too. Friends, let us talk about logic. There is this cheerful little fairy tale for naive guys. If you both contribute depending on the turns of fate, if you overcome hardships together, today you, tomorrow me, then everything will work out. Well, I'm going to reveal a terrible secret to you. Certain women do not reason like that at all. No, they do not understand what that means. Their logic is: I already have problems in life. I'm going to the courthouse with you, so those problems can be solved. Let us say it plainly: I am going there to solve my problems at your expense. And why on earth would I hand you my sacred little business? Right? That is holy, friends. A business granted by the heavens. When she goes there with you, she has a very specific idea of what is happening. I had a mother and father, or some other set of pits and ravines, and some or all of my headaches were covered, again, not at my expense. And now those headaches need to be transferred. You understand? Transferred. But not just like that. You will be made to think that by being squeezed from time to time, you are receiving cosmic blessings, although in reality you can receive them anyway, just like this. And then these naive guys say, we will overcome things together, build a future, invest in each other. And she says, sweetheart, no, no, no. You will invest, and I will be building this for years. There you go. But the responsibility is naturally on you. You are taking it on, right? Of course, friends, naturally. And the author writes, naturally, I was told at the time that these were real adult family relationships. Very adult, yes. Of course, now I understand there were warning signs even before that conversation. Sometimes she would disappear into her phone, the way I have heard described on your channel many times. She smiled at the screen, moved her lips while looking at it, even when she was supposed to be typing a report. A couple of times she said she was going to a friend's place and came back somehow too animated, as if she had just climbed off something and there she was all lit up, right? Her inner world had been stirred awake, so to speak. It felt like she had not been there drinking tea but living some separate life. Really? I would never have believed it honestly. And yes, when I asked direct questions, she answered very evasively and vaguely. How else was she supposed to answer? Oh, sorry, Lord, hello, do you really want me to tell the truth? She was taking care of you, after all, including your psychological health. Why traumatize you? You do not need all that. And then one day, she says this phrase, you have to admit, people cling to each other too much, and then they suffocate because of it. The author writes, of course, at the time, I did not even think about what that meant. Big mistake. The conversation itself happened closer to New Year's. There were about 4 months left before the wedding. Evening, kitchen, kettle, tangerines, a string of lights blinking in the window. And then she sits down and says, we need to have a pretty serious talk. Yes, friends, nothing good ever begins with that phrase. And already from that phrase, the author writes, what was I supposed to expect? I thought, okay, here it comes. Basically, it started with some blog. Apparently, there was this female blogger who had a very interesting family model. Yes, a blogger with an interesting family model, very modern and very honest. A very honest family model. So, what? I'm going to cheat honestly now? That kind of model, yes. I already thought to myself that some filth was coming, and I was not wrong. She said that this blogger and her husband had an open relationship. Nobody restricts anybody. There is no sense of ownership. No sense of ownership, yes. The responsibility is on you, but there is no ownership. That is how it works. No boundaries, and supposedly they have been living happily for 5 whole years. Wow, how impressive. And after that, with an absolutely calm face, she suggested that we discuss that kind of relationship format for ourselves. Right, bloggers like that deserve a solid 10 years. Anyway, let us continue. At first, I honestly thought it was some kind of joke. Maybe she had just decided to mess with me. Any second now, she would laugh, and that would be it. I even said something like, open, as in we do not close the windows. But she did not even smile, did not move an eyebrow. With the same serious face, she started explaining that it was very important for her to feel freedom. Yes, friends, a real woman revealing her true self correctly. She did not want to be locked into one scenario. What kind of scenario? Like it is a horror movie. You can love one person and still feel desire for others. Then why love that one person at all? That is the question I have. Is it so that he can... Oh, I forgot. I keep mixing things up, friends. Of course, it is so he can carry the responsibility. That is the most important thing. So, one scenario. You can love one person and desire others. And supposedly that is more honest than living in hypocrisy. Ah, friends, she has discovered the vault. It turns out we live in hypocrisy if we live together and cannot sleep around. No, But in reality, friends, this once again underlines what I have been telling you for 8 years now. The logic of the process should be clear to you by now. I will explain it so you understand. Because in the male brain, this does not naturally fit and requires explanation. Gentlemen, your world and your idea of it, including your idea of family, are a bit different from the world and ideas of women who love various psychologists, bloggers, and so on. You see, she is substituting the concept of hypocrisy. Allegedly, hypocrisy exists by default. But the point is, it already exists by default in her life. In other words, she is already cheating. She simply would not mind securing your support now, and in that way opening up her little world. Or opening up something else. I do not know. You decide what exactly she is opening. But the fact that everything there has long been wide open, I can tell you for certain. Yes, brother, forgive my frankness. In your world, that is not normal. In their world, it is normal by default. Later, these girls, who still have not understood anything, go to forums because they really want to try it, and experienced ladies start telling them that you can never have too many lovers. It does not interfere with loving someone. These are just parallel processes. Everything is fine. And from a consumer parasitic view of the world, this concept fits beautifully because it means you hook into the marriage market at several points at once. Or rather, you grab several horns at once, that will be more honest, without hypocrisy, I tell you. Yes, friends. And in this way, under certain circumstances or combinations of circumstances, it becomes possible to use several naive guys at once for financial and other benefits. Of course, here is one man writing about it, although no, not just one, there will be another. Let us continue. At that moment, I was not even as angry as I was physically sickened by the way she presented it. Oh, what a delicate stomach you have. As if we were not talking about a wedding in 6 months, but choosing curtain colors. For her, that is about the level, yes, curtain colors. Then, later in quote, why do you think you should have half the apartment? I participated too. I chose the curtains. I asked her directly, without even hoping to get anything clear in response. I said, so right before the wedding, you are suggesting that we agree, both of us, can sleep with whoever we want, and that this should be considered completely normal? And she answered, well, if you put it crudely, then maybe yes. But it is not as primitive as you are making it sound. Then she started carrying on with all that nonsense about new ethics, awareness, and rejecting the feeling of ownership. Friends, do you understand what this is about? It means that one way or another, she will be collecting and using various resources from different naive guys. That is what it looks like in the end. They just do not tell you that. They tell you about hypocrisy, about new ethics, about how it is primitive to say it that way. Do not say it like that, that it is with everyone. That is primitive. It is different. And then the author writes, I asked her the main question, do you already have someone in mind? After a short pause, she said, yes. Well, there it is. I guessed again. Listen, I am hitting the target with my finger every time. I am starting to scare myself. I told you she was already doing something somewhere. There you go. The man continues. That yes still rings in my head. She weighed it all out calmly, without embarrassment, as if she were telling me we had run out of bread at home. What a subtle metaphor, brother. You had run out of bread, and the whole loaf was gone too. Rub yourself with cookies if you want. But it got even more interesting. She immediately added that she still wanted to marry me because I was reliable. My god. I knew this was the ending. There it is. Responsible, reliable, exactly. With me, she felt calm. With me, she could build a life. And over there, it was just physical attraction, just interest, just a different emotion. So, in effect, she said right to my face, you are for stability, and the other man is for pleasure. Yes, exactly. And then a third and a fourth will appear, brother, or they are already somewhere on the way. Do not worry, as they say. Friends, look how beautifully the marriage market expands despite obligations. Oh, sorry, we are not allowed to say obligations. A girl is different, you see. In short, the author says, after that evening, I could no longer look at her normally. For some time, we still kept talking out of inertia. We even tried to pretend that we should not make any rash decisions. No, no, of course you should not, brother. Do not make rash decisions. We even went places together and discussed household things. A couple of times she tried to restart the conversation about how I was simply not ready for a freer model of relationship. But inside me, everything had gone completely dark. She would hug me, and I would remember her phrase about reliability, about another man. She would take my hand, and I felt disgusted. At some point, I realized I simply could not drag this out any longer, and there was no reason to. So we broke up without a circus. I told her directly, we have different views on family. There is no point breaking each other. She tried to push a few more conversations. Yes, yes, let us talk. Meaning, I will convince you now. She said we could try it, that I would get used to it, that I was too categorical, and that life changes. Well, her life changes. Her incoming roster changes too, brother. But that is not your life, right? The second you go anywhere, the complaints will begin. I told her, I do not try out a family. It is not a trial version. You either build a family or you are building something else from the very beginning. So I went and cancelled the wedding. I got some money back and lost some of it. The ring stayed in the box. It was unpleasant, of course, but apparently even then I understood that I had gotten off with a minor wound. And then events became even crazier. On the very day our wedding had been scheduled, she actually got married, but not to me. She married that other man. I did not find out immediately. About a week later, through social media, through acquaintances, photos, the courthouse, the dress, everything was wonderful. Well, the wedding slot did not burn down, right? We just swapped the character. The state has thought of everything, and the ladies at the courthouse are all for love, as you know. Later, I looked at all of it on social media. Such a happy little chronicle, can you imagine? Photos right away from the new apartment, trips, stories with breakfasts, posts about home comfort. Then I found out she was pregnant too. Her belly rounded out very quickly. How lucky you got, brother. Then, little by little, there were fewer and fewer photos. Then posts about diapers, baby clothes, motherhood. Friends, once they have left you alone, do not even follow it. Spit and forget. Then the child was born. Basically, I saw all this from their family content. Husband with bouquets and photo shoots. And I will say right away, I was not deliberately watching it. I had already understood everything. Social networks sometimes sort things up by themselves, and mutual acquaintances remind you anyway. Well, the wedding went past me. Fine, live and enjoy. Almost 6 years passed, and suddenly I heard a story that made me look at all of it from a different angle. What kind of story could have arrived? A proposal to restart open relationships? No.